Okay, I think we're good. Okay, so officially, hi everyone. Hope you can hear me all right. And if you could let me know in the chat if you can hear me, that way I'm not just talking to myself on mute for a couple minutes, and then we'll go ahead and get started. And as I like to start these all off, if you want to put where you're watching from, and then I will give some shout outs as people are joining in, and then we will start turning our 11 and 19 into mermen creation. So I'm pretty excited. Last week we did, what number was it, 13 or 12? I think it was 12. And I did it way quicker than expected, and I ended up doing just like sea creatures and other things around them. So I'm going to challenge myself and try to do 2 numbers today. I totally forgot that I missed day 11, and today is the 19th day. And if you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, basically I'm going to be turning these numbers into mermen, using the numbers as kind of the base foundation of the structural components of the mermen. So that is why I'm doing these numbers. Hi everyone. And if you have any comments or questions, just put @vonnart before it. That way I can see it as I'm going in between the comments and my iPad here. And that is what I'll be working on today. And I guess I should mention, yes, I'm working on the iPad. I am working in Procreate, and I use the 6B pencil brush, as you can see here. So that's all that I'll be using today. Nothing crazy fancy, and I hope to have some fun with you guys. Oh good, you guys can hear me. Okay. Oh hey Ella. Ella's one of our wonderful mods on the Discord that you can join below. Well, thank you. Might leave in a few minutes since I have dinner baking in the oven. Well, yes, definitely priority is eating. Make sure you stay alive with sustenance. Alright. What was the other announcements I wanted? Oh, my Kickstarter just ended, duh. I'm very thankful to, if any of you picked up my new book, it just ended. Oh, well, hello, Manjak Kala, for subscribing. Thank you. That totally caught me off guard because I haven't been able to get the notifications thing to work the past like month, so I'm surprised it just worked. Oh, now it's really working. Hey, Anthony Hunter, thank you for subscribing. So thank you. Okay, well, I think then I'm just gonna jump into it. And like I said, if you have any comments or questions, just be sure to put @vonnart, and then I will do my best to answer them. And officially, hi everyone, I'm Timothy Von Rueden, better known as Vonnart Online, and I do these weekly Wednesday live streams to kind of stay in touch, to work with you guys and answer any questions you might have about either doing art, the business side of art, how to stay motivated, or just have lively conversation about films and games and everything that is fun to talk about. And today I'm going to be turning the numbers 19 and 11 into mermen. So that is the goal. I'm just going to kind of start here, and I'll kind of talk about the process of what I'm doing. But for the most part, this is the 19th mermen that I've done, or I guess 18th and 19th one that I've done. And I've done 2 streams on kind of the process of doing these already. So I kind of want to just have fun with you guys, and maybe I'll be background noise for a lot of you that are just working and maybe work more comfortably when they have, someone in the background that's also doing art. I think as artists, we tend to enjoy company of other artists while working. Sometimes art can be pretty lonely, but for me, I always see art as very therapeutic. But every now and then it just is nice to have someone else to work alongside. And I was thinking for these numbers, it'd be kind of fun to do them interacting. So I was gonna have either like a forbidden love situation, or maybe even just like forbidden friendship, kind of like a Romeo and Juliet scenario, where you're gonna have like 19 reaching out toward 11, kind of like the touch of God and Adam, where they're like just barely not touching, but like it's very, very close, like that. So we'll see if we can kind of pull that off. Maybe I might scrap this idea, do something else, but that's kind of the initial idea here. Let's see here, Jessica, I'm doing a self-taught art history inspiring artist thing, and I wanted to include you. May I have permission to print out 10 images of your work from Instagram and write about them in my notebook? Absolutely. I hope the quality is good enough for you. Honestly, it might be better I shouldn't be even recommending this, but you'll probably get higher res scans from either DeviantArt or just Googling. There might be some better quality pictures, because I think Instagram, unless if you get really crisp resolution on like the web browser version of Instagram, otherwise, yeah, I would go to a different site. I'm gonna have his head kind of like looking away, kind of ashamed. He wants to be friends so bad. Matea says, hello from Croatia. Your live streams are great to listen to while I'm working on some other projects. That is literally amazing to hear. That's what I like to keep doing these. Every time I think of like not doing these weekly Wednesday live streams anymore, I always remember that, you know, they're just nice accompanying background noise for a lot of people, and I have fun with them. I usually get really fun, but I usually get fun. I usually have fun doing these, but I think I just get a little nervous sometimes beforehand because I feel like there's so many other things I should be doing, and even now I have these 2 bigger projects I gotta finish by the end of the month, and I could be spending time on that, but I can't show one of them live because it's like an NDA type thing. But that's okay, because I end up totally never regretting these once I finish. I'm always like, oh yeah, I remember why I like talking with you guys. Oh, and thank you, Ella. Yeah, the Kickstarter was crazy. The last day was just nuts. I really didn't think it would hit over 100, and it was approaching like 75 3 days ago or 4 days ago or something. And then I remember when it got into the high 70s, the question did enter my mind of like, can it actually pull through and hit over 100? Because I'm sure anyone that's run a Kickstarter in here, or maybe you guys haven't run a Kickstarter before, maybe this is like new information, but on Kickstarter, the way it works is you usually get like a really big, here, let me do a quick graph thing. So if these are days, and this is money, usually the way a Kickstarter works, let me make sure you guys can see that, is usually day 1, it kind of goes like this, but then throughout the duration of the Kickstarter, it usually goes like this, and then the final like 3 days is like final 3 days, I would say. It was like initial 3 days, so like maybe even 2, honestly. The first 2 days are usually pretty big of a jump, and then the final 3 are usually pretty big. But in between is just like this long plateau that, you know, is steadily creeping up a little bit here and there. So that's how Kickstarter works. So I knew 4 days out that once it hit 70, it was like 78 or something, I was like, there is a small percentage chance that it could hit over 100, because that's the way Kickstarter generally works. So that was honestly just nuts. That was, the last 3 days have been nuts watching it climb, and it was really cool. That's all I'll say. Hello everyone. Hello from Atlanta. Hey Anthony, how are you doing? Julie, can't wait to get all 4 books. Also, hi from France. Well, thank you for backing, and bonjour. Yeah, it's weird. I haven't even seen my proof copy, my physical copy yet. So I haven't even seen them in person. And I keep messaging my book publisher. Hopefully I'll be getting those in the next week or 2. So I'll definitely post photos or something so you guys can see what I'm seeing. And I'll probably do a big Kickstarter update today for anyone that backed the book. I'll do a little update on there. Ooh. Oh, you guys can't even see that my dad just texted me. My family's been crazy supportive because I don't think they really understand Kickstarter. So they think I just hit it rich, where I don't think they realize like Kickstarter will take 10%, and then at least like 15,000 of that will go to shipping. It's kind of nuts. I mean, it's cute that my family's so excited, but I think they think I just got 100 grand, where it's like, nah, not really. You got to do the math for it and numbers and everything. Like the books alone were about 10 grand, so knock that off. And I think I am planning on recording like a full Kickstarter tutorial on YouTube, just to kind of give you guys more insights on the back end and kind of spell out more what to expect from it and what are some tips and tricks to do, what you should definitely avoid doing. And I definitely have more of like business type videos I want to produce. But also I realized I really want to do, and I know I talked a little bit about this last week, so I won't tangent too much, but I really want to do more motivation stuff because I realize that seems to be a big thing a lot of artists tend to look for or desire. And it's something, you know, I hit those plateaus here and there with art, and sometimes it's hard to just want to sit down and work for 6 hours on a piece. And it's just that pushing through. And sometimes all it takes is a little nudge, you know, just, I listen to sometimes these motivation videos and literally that's all I need to push me over the hump of feeling better about doing work. Let me see here. I have my little Pinterest board of different tails and different fish. Because whenever I draw mermaids or mermen or whatever, I try to pull from the natural world in terms of how their fin shapes are, and I find that I get results that I think are cooler, but sometimes they're a little gaudy, but then again, most of my art is a little gaudy. Hey Candor, another one of our lovely mods. Hello in chat, can't stay long, but happy to finally be here again for a bit. Well, welcome for a bit. It's good to see ya. Nathan says, I received my prints today, the High Priestess and the Hangman. They're amazing. Thanks again. Well, thank you for picking them up. It's going to be really weird jumping back into the tarot world because I got to kind of catch up. I took May off to do a lot of these Mermay daily drawings and obviously promote the Kickstarter, which took a huge amount of time. And I'll have to get back on the tarot train. I really want to do, I guess spoiler, but I think my next card that I'm going to illustrate is the Queen of Wands. I know it's not a major card, but I did a tarot reading for myself in April, or I think Josh did it for me. And my like who you are today was the Queen of Wands, and there was so much that I resonated with. And then in the card itself, there was a black cat as well, and I just adopted this black stray cat. And it just really resonated with me, so I think that will be the next one I do. And I have a feeling that's how a lot of my tarot cards are going to be produced, is I'll either do a reading, or I'll do like a friend's reading, or I'll do Josh's reading, and one of the cards will like really stand out to me, and that's the one I want to do. Let me give some of these arm fluffs. And if you have no idea what I'm doing right now, I'm just kind of giving a base. Usually when I'm doing digital thumbnails like this, I try not to put too much pressure on the stage, this stage in particular, where it's so loose and things can be edited. I try to give some value placements just so my mind kind of knows, okay, this is where I'm going to shade this area and this is how I want this to look. And I love overlapping value. So if the tail is in front of the arm, I'm definitely gonna make the tail darker and then the arm lighter. That French accent is great. Oh yeah, I do not. I would love to speak a little French. I think it's the most beautiful sounding language. And I learned just a little bit, but there's a small chance I might be teaching for like 2 weeks in France next year. And I would love to learn a little bit of the language before I go. Almost out of just respect to the culture, honestly. I think for this merman, maybe have some of these like floaties. Maybe less structured. I feel like the merman on the right has more of a structured look to him. So maybe this one on the left has more of like these soft, clothy looking fins. Actually, I could give them a couple spikes too, going up the back. I feel like it was a mistake putting the spikes upward, but I'm like, you know what? I never really see this. I'm gonna put the spikes going the opposite direction this time. Let's see here. Hick says, I just an idea. I thought it's kind of cool to do like a fishnet with a sea monster egg in it as the oval of the 9. Oh, that'd be really cool. Yeah. Yeah, if you guys are joining alongside me, I forgot to post the 11 and 19, but I figured you guys can draw your own 11 and 19 numbers and then just draw or paint over it. It's kind of like an easy way to challenge yourself on like okay, what would this look like? How would this look? And it kind of gives you a foundation to work upon, because sometimes, you know, working just right on a white paper is intimidating, and I totally get that. So I think having these kind of like mini challenges can be helpful. Usually I just like to kind of create indication marks for the face. Try not to totally detail anything too crazy. Oh, hello. Hey, Fem, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. Julie says, ow, you're going, or oh, or ow, ow, oh, you're going to teach in France? That's really cool. Yeah, I think I'm doing a seminar week where, I don't know if I'm even supposed to be announcing this fully yet, but it's going to be at a resort, like a, what are those called? Not a, maybe a chateau? And it's going to be a week of just going on like tours and exploring the countryside and having prepaid dinners and stuff all together. So it's also like a vacation. It was weird. They told me not to even call it a workshop. It's more of a retreat. And that will hopefully be announced in the next few weeks. So we'll see. So if any of you are interested, I will be coming to France to teach, and you can literally live alongside me for like a week and draw. Because obviously it's also a teaching seminar, and I'm going to be teaching alongside one of my good friends in the States. His name is Victor, and he works at Riot Games. And I think after that, me and Josh is going to fly in, and we're going to go to Scotland, and we're going to kind of see some of that countryside over there before we head back to the States. I want to play with his design a little bit more. Hi, vonnart. Your work is great. I support you from Japan. Oh, well, thank you all the way from Japan. That was another area that I was going to go visit, and I learned all of the hiragana and katakana, and I started learning some of the kanji, which was crazy. I don't know how anyone can memorize all that like in their late 20s, early 30s, because there's so much kanji to memorize, and I feel like it's just growing all the time. But that is another country we would love to go visit. I know Josh and I talked about we'll probably go after. I know this is more like touristy, and I shouldn't even say like this is like the main reason, but I wanted to go to Japan anyways, and I think so did Josh. But we're now gonna wait until the Ghibli theme park area opens, and then we're gonna probably go to not only the theme park, but then we'll probably go to some of the countryside areas. I don't necessarily think of myself as a city person, so I don't think we'll be going to like Tokyo or the big areas. But I would love to go. I know there's that one village, the deer village, where it's a bunch of deer that you can pet and they come up to you. I'd love to go there and yeah, see some more of like more rural areas of countries when I go visit. Because cities are very similar to me regardless of where I go. Maybe that's not true in some countries. I'm sure that is true. But in the ones that I've been to, I'm like, yeah, this is like similar to New York, or this is similar to Seattle, or you know, it has a lot of the same elements. Okay. I'm feeling pretty good about this base. Let me flip it. The beauty of working digitally. I'll kind of liquefy some of this. There we are. Actually, his head feels way too small too. Do a little bit of the expand, liquefy. Okay, I feel pretty good about this. So now, usually what I'll do is I'll turn the opacity lower, like that. Then we're gonna go ahead and, oop, what the heck? There we go. Drawing. No, sketching. 6B. Now I'm gonna clean up some of these lines here. I'm gonna start with the merman on the left. Nathan says, I mentioned to you in your last live stream that was designing my own tarot deck. I completed 2 cards and, oh, chat is getting cut off here. Oh, there we go. And the card I'm working on is Temperance. That is going to be a really fun one. I know some of the majors I know I'll have a good time doing. I'm just almost saving them for when I'm like really feeling it. Temperance is one of those I feel like I'll really enjoy working on. Because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. This is the one with her pouring the water in the vases, and I really like the idea behind it on how things are temporal and nothing is, you know, finite. Things are changing, and I like a lot of the meaning behind that card. If I ever go quiet, it's usually because I'm just focusing just for a second on whatever I'm working on. Sometimes I have to think in like a 3-dimensional space how this would work. I think his chest was too big. There we go. Anthony says, just yesterday I got the book, Alphonse Mucha Masterworks. I think you'd love it if you don't have it already. I believe I do. I have one of my favorite books ever is a Mucha book, and it was produced by, what's his name? Hiroshi Uno, and he has like a collection of books that he publishes online, and I have so many of his books. He did Harry Clark. He's done a few of these like fantastical fantasy ones that has like Arthur Rackham and those type of artists within. And those books I treasure. So if it's the one that he made, that's the Mucha book that I have. If not, I'll have to look into which one you're talking about. Because Mucha is obviously a huge inspiration. And more, not even so much the Art Deco-ness of it all, I really do believe he is a master at posing and the way he does hands. I really do believe he's the best hand artist I've ever seen. And when I look at his works, I really look at the way he sculpts and puts his hands. Speaking of hands, let me try to make these look not so weird looking. There we go. Now, mind you, for those who might be new to this stream, this is definitely more of like a warm-up type practice challenge, because this won't be pushed into like pencils and really defined and rendered out. Oh, that chin's way too big. Let's see here. Candor, also I see my boy Tristan there, still my favorite companion on my desk. Yeah, well, not in this drawing. Oh, you mean on the left? That's right. I put him right under my head. You bet. That was my favorite merman that I've drawn to date. And I actually haven't fully like rendered out. Oh no, I did do one other merman for a commission I did last year, but I haven't really like rendered out a full merman since then. Probably next year I'll do a bit more of that. I really overbit what what's that saying? Put too much on my plate, and May just became way too heavy, trying to do too many things all at once. Add some value variation here. Helps define the face and kind of the structure. Actually, I don't like that. There we go. Let's see here. Julie says, then I will come and say hi, and yes, it's called a chateau. Well, then there it is. That is what I'll be teaching at, a chateau. Kendra says, well, I hope that when you and Josh visit Japan that you would stop by Korea. I mean, why not? I definitely want to travel more once. I mean, things are starting to return back to normal here. It's been weird. I went to a store yesterday and or was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday, where people weren't wearing masks and it wasn't mandatory anymore. And I mean, I haven't, gosh, I can't even remember the last time I've been into a store where it wasn't mandatory to wear a mask. I know Josh and I definitely want to get some things structured here first. We're trying to get the house all nice, and a lot of the extra money on Kickstarter that I'm making is going to pay for a new roof and siding and gutters, because ours are kind of falling apart, and winters here in Wisconsin are really rough. So I don't know how much longer this roof can hold for these winters. So we're gonna go replace that this summer, and that's why I'm very grateful that the Kickstarter did as well as it did. That hand reach though. Yeah, definitely want to clean these up too. He's looking too normal. I'm going to add some stripes and kind of fun things to give this shape language some variation here. Let's see here. Matthias says, regarding your work, did you ever think about doing a pure black background on one of them? It would look really fascinating. Also, do you have any tips on making your own playing cards? Yes, I did do a very black background. I actually played with more powdered graphite last October with the Drawtober series that I did. And one of them was called Folklore, and the whole backdrop were basically, it was skeletons, and it was a top-down view of these two skeletons that are eroding into the dirt, and they're in a mushroom circle. So it's the whole folklore of stepping into a fairy ring and then dancing till you die. So I wanted to do a top-down view of that. In the background, I had to make very dark. So I did, yeah, make the whole background black essentially, and then used my eraser tools, specifically my Mono Zero eraser, this one. And I just kind of started, scratching the hell out of it, and it created this grassy appearance, like this texture of like matted down grass. And that was really exciting. But I do want to play more with like black, dark backgrounds, because there's a lot of fun contrast you can do with that. And I have a lot of friends like Babs Webb, who I think is an expert with working on dark backgrounds and then pulling and lifting some of the the value up using erasers. So yeah, I definitely want to do that. And then what was the second part of the question here? Do you have any tips on making your own playing cards? I am going to be making another deck probably this year. I'm doing a collab one with my new roommate Deandra, and I did almost want to make a separate Discord because some of my other art friends also want to make playing card decks, and I think it would be cool if we all did ones or did some at the same time and kind of share like what works, what doesn't work, any inspiration. So I mean, that if that's something that you're genuinely interested in, follow the Discord below to the one we currently have set up for the vonnart community. And then I'll link the new Discord, like just specifically for those who want to do card decks. And I'll have some of my own art friends in there. And but I do only want you to join it if you're serious about making a card deck. Because I have a lot of tips I'd want to share, but I don't think I would want to do it just on a live stream. I think there's way more than just could be said while I'm drawing two mermen. I would say though, starting off, yes, I think it is a great idea to make one. So if you are interested in making a card deck, I think as an artist, if you want to sustain yourself financially, this has been the most surprising product I've ever made in terms of sales after a Kickstarter. Every week it generates at least 5. Usually we get around 10 to 15 range, and that's without really marketing it or doing much for it. So that has been nuts, and I think that continues to be one of my top selling products. And I think that's why whenever I talk to artists, if they're interested in doing a card deck, I usually push them in that direction. Like, yes, like please make one. I promise you'll see a return on this, especially if you do conventions. And it's a product that's different than just doing prints. I feel like prints are the first go-to for a lot of artists. I mean, definitely was for me. And then you want to expand into like lifestyle items. And I think card deck, it's just so recognizable, and there's such a market for it, a pre-existing market for it already, that you're just tapping into this world where you can make quite a bit of income in return from that product. And also you want to make sure you genuinely want to make a card deck. I think if you're going into any product with like intention of just making money, I don't really think the product will be as strong. I do believe that you can kind of tell when an artist's heart isn't in something. And I made a card deck because I really love multiplayer solitaire, and my friends taught it to me at a convention. And I was like, I want to play with my own card deck. So that was kind of the push that made me go into it. And then it wasn't until afterwards that I realized how big of a financial gain it is. So just something to note, keep in your mind of like, yeah, this is definitely a possibility of something you might be able to do for yourself. Let's see here. Anthony says, the one I'm talking about is by Rosalind Ormiston, and she goes into his history as well as the history of his pieces and the people he came into contact with. Oh, then definitely different. Yeah, I'd love to read that. Candor says, it's my favorite merman as well, like in general. He hangs right above my monitor for ultimate inspiration motivation. Well, it's awesome. I hope he's been doing that for you, feeding that into your creative brain. Let's see here. Ella says, like Tristan, some other mermaids you've been working on getting more of a story or a name? I know you must have painted an incredible amount of mermaids by now. Surprisingly, I really haven't. Like finished mermaids, probably like 4. And not including like these really quick sketchy ones. These are more just like fun warm-ups in my mind. But sometimes these warm-ups turn into a drawing. Like I did Lunar, I call it Lunar Mermaid. And that started off basically as one of these like warm-up gesture mermaids, and then became something way more that turned into, honestly, one of my most successful prints to date. So yeah, but I definitely want to do more mermaids in the future. I love Aquatica stuff. That's why I'm doing my 5-foot drawing. It's sitting on the other side of this room. And actually, any of my Patreon backers, I'm going to be recording. I was going to record it last week, but then I couldn't record because it was raining, and then the back room was being used by my cousin, so I'll probably have to do it either tomorrow or Friday, and I'm going to post a new video giving an update and like close-up shots and kind of explain the story of what I'm adding to this 5-foot drawing and this underwater utopia. And a lot of that has a story bits to it for sure. And I do really believe, like, as you work on a piece, it's hard for a story not to appear in your head, unless if you're really distracted with like a background show or music. I think sometimes I like to work just in silence. Sometimes when I'm outside, I just won't have music on, and usually like a story will just come into my mind as I'm working on it. And hopefully there's not any dumb drama that like occurs in my life where I have to like engage with it, or like just not even with it, just like hear about it, because I really don't engage with drama. I'm 31. I'm far too old to be getting into that scene. But I'll, if my friends want to tell me about something that happened, like I'll definitely listen to it. But I'm not really gonna engage much more than that, because then I know my mind. I know how my mind works, and I'll be thinking about it then much more and much later than I even should be. It becomes more of a distraction at that point. Make his body a little thinner. I feel like he's puffing up his chest for no reason. Okay, mermaid number 2. Because what time am I at? Oh, we're definitely good. Let's see here. Candor says, I mean, you guys would have a free of charge guide. I mean, that would be awesome. Everywhere that I've traveled, I've had someone that either knew of my work online, or I met online at a convention, or I met at a convention, and then we got together offline. In Belgium, it was Tijl, one of our other mods. Why did I forget the word for a second? And then when I went to Australia, it was my friend Kieran. And then when in the UK, we had Jensen. And then when we go to, Scotland, we have another watcher that usually comes to these live streams. His name's Jonathan Liddell. And he offered to show us some of his favorite spots. And what's so cool about having like a local, and in Iceland, it was Dagny. It was literally everywhere that I've traveled to out of the country, there's been someone that's local or lived there their whole life that was able to show some of their like favorite spots. And that has been the weirdest blessing in the disguise, because sometimes the touristy stuff, like, yeah, it has a lot of fun to it. Like there are reasons why it's popular, especially if it's like a waterfall or something. But there was, like when we went to Belgium, Tijl showed us this really cool forest where no one was really there, and then a beach at the end that was just beautiful. And once again, it was like no one was there. And I think when you engage with someone who's lived there their whole life, they can show you more than just like what's well known or what's popular. So that was really exciting. Now let's see here. How do I want to do these? Where was I? Kendra says, "Oh yeah, the roof. I hope you can get it fixed soon. It has been so long since you initially planned to." The biggest headache of my life has been getting this roof. I'll keep it really quick, but essentially, I signed on this roof project like in November or December before COVID. So this is 2019. And I was thinking, okay, I have this amount of cons. I have like 7 months. I have a Kickstarter that I was planning on probably making a card deck anyways. I was like, okay, well, the card deck can help pay for the roof. And then COVID hit like a truck. And not only did it hit my conventions, obviously they all canceled like immediately, but my boyfriend, Josh, literally about 2 months before COVID hit, quit his full-time job to work for me because we had all these cons planned out, and he left a full-time job with benefits and pay, obviously. So then it was like the amount of pressure that I was feeling last, like March, was a lot. I think it was more than I even care to really recognize, because I was so stressed out that I didn't even know how to function fully. I was in such a go mentality because I was like, okay, well, I need to then start working on these card decks like now. And that's why I was able to turn around a card deck in 3 months, because I was so nervous and so scared. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't know when COVID was going to end. And I also had to pay. It was a lot. It was I'll just say it was more than 50 grand. And it was making me really nervous because I'm like, I don't even know how I'm going to pay for this. And we had all these cons lined up, and I thought I was going to have to take a lien on the house. It was bad. I was just in a bad headspace. And thankfully we were able to get it pushed to this year, which gave me another year to basically save up money. But it's still very difficult when you don't have cons. I mean, that was my main source of income. And I'm sure a lot of you were also affected in weird ways, where I had to then look at, like, okay, well, how else can I, have a income right now? And online sales actually helped a lot last year, but also this latest Kickstarter that just ended today basically is the reason I'm no longer stressed, because the roof will be paid for, the siding will be done, the gutters will be replaced, and we'll have a place to live securely for a very, very long time. And I'm no longer worried about the house falling apart in the winter. Because I love this house so much, and I'm definitely one of those people where you take care of the things that you have rather than just searching for what's new or better. So for me, as soon as I got this house, I knew I wasn't going to move. This was it. Like, I'm rooting down roots here, and this was before I was even in a relationship. So I remember thinking, whoever I get into a relationship with, they better love this house, because I'm not moving. And thankfully Josh did take a liking to it as well. So yeah, anyways, that's my mini story. Where was I here? Fem says, oh my god, yeah, it's weird so many places are getting back to normal. It was so exciting, but weird to see a live audience that was small compared to other editions during Eurovision. I didn't even watch Eurovision, but yeah, it's probably the same thing where you're like, oh my gosh, all these people together in a room without masks. It's like 2019 again. I think 2020, we were all so used to how awful 2020 was. Although, I mean, it was awful in so many senses, especially in America. It was just chaos. But on a personal level, I mean, me and Josh have talked about this. It was just a year of a lot of growth. And for me personally, it was actually a good breath of like taking a break and like really analyzing, especially not only the art side of my work, which really I was able to focus more on like bigger, more time-consumed pieces that had more meaning to them. But also on the business side, I wasn't just go, go, go and like, okay, now we got to prep for the next con. Now we got to prep for the next con. Now we got to prep for the next con. And it forced me to like really analyze what I was doing and where I was spending my time. And because of that extra time, I've been able to really build an online following and sales and blah, 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 blah. Like, obviously, you guys probably know where that story is going. But essentially, I hope for you guys, you can look hindsight in 2020, and yeah, there was a lot of mess, especially in the world. But I hope in like your personal lives, there's something that you could take away from it that benefited you in like a positive way. And that's how I'm choosing to leave 2020 in my head. A very chaotic year, very weird, shook things up, but weirdly helpful for me as a person and for my business. Oh, thank you, Ella, for posting Babs' Instagram. She's amazing. I love Babs. I hope to see her again soon. Candor says, fun fact, even hubby was tempted to get your card deck just because he loves your art. Even we basically never play cards. Well, that's kind of cool. I know I found out a lot of my card decks aren't really being used for playing. They're just like collector items, which I guess is cool. I mean, not the original intention, but cool still nonetheless. Anthony says, when I go on nature walks, I won't even listen to music. I'll just listen to the animals and trees. Yeah. Yeah, I think that is a good way to like just take a moment for yourself in nature. Because there's so much in nature to get inspired from. Literally, I think that's why you always hear artists talk about it, and you know the science of, what is that, forest bathing or whatever that's called. I do think a lot of that does ring true. Elish, we're all Tim's mentors. Yeah, I know, right? I forgot the word mod. I mean, sure, why not? You could be my mentors as well. We're teaching each other. This is a give and take relationship. And then he says, it'd be really cool if you made an illustrated guide of the places you visited. You know, I really should do like illustration based on every place that I've visited. Like, that'd be kind of fun. But I have so many drawings I am backed up on right now because obviously the tarot deck, and I really want to do the Zodiac series at some point. I mean, I shouldn't even say that because I'm digging a hole of, you know, expectations and, oh, well, you said on the stream back in 2021 May that you would do a Zodiac series. But I think that would be really fun to do. I'll probably play with the idea because I really want to do Libra because that's what I am. And who knows? You know what? I don't want to say anything more, but there are a lot of different series I want to do. I would love to do the 7 Deadly Sins, the 5 stages of depression, or not depression. Oh gosh, what are those stages for? It's the one where it's denial, anger, sadness, something, and then acceptance. Bargaining, I think, is one of them. What? Oh gosh, why can't I think of what those 5 stages of grief, I want to say? Is that it? Oh, maybe that's it. Actually, that sounds right to me. Let's see here. And don't forget to put @vonnart before any comment or question so I can see it. Film says, I think it means that Tim would literally lean against the house to keep the roof on. Oh no, taking a lien on the house. Is that Wisconsin dialect for taking a loan? Maybe. That could be Midwestern slang and I'm not even aware of it. But usually that means to take out like money against your house. So like you're borrowing against the money that you've already paid off on your house, essentially. And I really didn't want to have to do that because then you can get into some dangerous situations if you can't pay it back. And I definitely did not want to have to deal with all of that. I mean, you got to remember, I'm an artist first and foremost. So for me, like dealing with, I mean, even this week I'm refinancing my house. So rather than it being a 30-year mortgage, it'll be a 15. And even like that kind of paperwork and just not fun. I think the worst paperwork for me was literally starting an LLC or like making my art business a legit business in the government size here in America. That was awful. That was one of the worst experiences I've had with running a business so far. Just a heads up for all of you that are getting into that. It's not fun, so prepare yourself mentally. Mateo says, definitely would like to make my own deck, so I'm looking forward to that Discord. Also, I've been following the advice of Jono Dry on making my own reference photos, and it's been doing wonders. Yes. Almost every like full illustration piece where there's a character involved, like doing a pose, I'll either have myself or someone I know get in that pose, and that will be the basis of the illustration. I mean, we are our own literally walking free reference. I say this all the time, but it's so true. And I think as artists, we need to get over feeling embarrassed about it, like taking pictures of ourselves. Especially if you're doing anatomy. I know it's really embarrassing for a lot of people to want to take photos of themselves naked, but as long as no one will see it, I mean, you can delete the image like right after the photo, right after you're done. I've never had an instance where someone's like looked at my iPhone or my iPhoto. I mean, I've had like embarrassing, like weird poses of me just like taking a photo of like my hand, you know, but nothing where it's like super embarrassing. And then yeah, if you're not even doing human reference, if you're doing like creature, plant, or whatever reference, just go outside and take pictures of it yourself. I mean, even floral inspiration, go to like a local garden shop. I mean, it's literally packed with inspiration and photos essentially for you to use in your work. We'll see. I'm not really digging this merman drawing right now. I'm gonna edit it. It's kind of the beauty of digital, as you can quick edit, but also sometimes I push it too much and I edit it so much and I'm like, oh, this looks awful. Maybe it's the hair too. I don't know if I'm digging the hair. The stages of grief. Okay, thank you. That's what I thought it was too. So yeah, I did the first illustration. I did the one for denial. And the next one is anger. So eventually I'll get around to doing that because I did the denial one for Imagine FX a couple years ago, I want to say, like 2018. Or no. I think it was 2018. I can't remember actually now. There's just too much going on. So yeah, one day I'll finish that series as well. All right, clearly I'll come back to the face because I'm not really digging the face right now. We'll keep working on the scales. What was awful about getting LLC? Cassie's asking. Literally the process of like signing up for it and then getting approved. There's a lot of payments, like hidden fees that you're just not even aware of. I think I was hit, like there were a couple times I was hit with like around $500 to $800 just out of nowhere, and it's just part of signing up for an LLC. And I mean, thankfully I had some savings at the time, but yeah, it was like, I don't know, $3.5 grand just to start the LLC, which was annoying. And then you have to pay a bunch of taxes, and like I understand, but I also get really frustrated by it because you have to report everything. And I think a lot of artists, especially in the States, they try everything in their power to hide money from paying taxes. But when you're an LLC, you really have to report pretty much everything. And the only way you could get away with any type of like tax evasion, if you want to call it that, would be like not reporting the cash you make from cons. And all digital transactions though, like there's no way you can get around that because it is trackable. It is, you know, it has receipts, there's dates on it. So I would definitely not try to play too risky of a game when it comes to hiding money from the government for taxes. Okay, that's kind of fun. That higher. Ooh, I'm getting really close to tangenting on this side. I'm gonna push this over a little bit. Give it some spacing. There we go. Kendra says, all right, need to head out, but I had an amazing time. Thank you everyone for hanging out and chatting. Have a good rest of your stream. Well, thank you, Kendor. Glad you were able to stop by for a second and watch some more mermen be created here. I'm gonna make the top side darker. Oh, hello from Germany. What is it? The Admiral instead of Admiral? That's cute. Okay, so now I think I'm gonna go through and kind of clean up a lot of this. Definitely the underdrawing on this one's bothering me too. Sometimes I'll make a duplicate of the layer in case I really think I messed something up. I can always go back and fix it. But yeah, let's add some trinkets and things to him. Maybe that's what's kind of missing here. Definitely some floating bubbles. I feel like that's like the easiest accent you can put into a mermaid drawing of any kind and give it some atmosphere instantly. Matea says, will you draw some Asian characters in the future? It would be a nice representation, especially now. I mean, probably. I try to keep my people pretty blank and neutral, and especially with pencil drawing. I mean, obviously, I think there's definitely distinct featuristics without being like stereotyping different ethnicities for sure. But I had tried to have like the character themselves be the focal point of like how fun, like, you know, the stripes on the tail are, how many squigglies, especially for a merman. But I could definitely do an Asian merman. Well, my best friend is Asian, so a lot of the times whenever she poses for me for illustration, sometimes they tend to look a little more like her as well. Just because when you're working from a reference, especially a live reference, or in this case I usually take a photo, but there are tendencies and there's like little subtleties that come through, especially if you're doing like faces and that I usually see in my finals. I'm also drawing these really, really small. So on the canvas, I made them really, really small, and I'm working on a smaller resolution too. And it kind of helps detract me from focusing too much on details, because I think I'm such a detail-oriented person, especially doing pencil drawings, that I get lost when doing studies or warm-ups or things that aren't supposed to take super long, because I'm wasting a lot of time on detailing. So I try not to get too lost in that when I do warm-ups like this, but it's always easy to get into that habit of, okay, well, now I start rendering, and now is when I can push the texture on the, you know, part of the fin that no one's gonna even see. Hi Elaine from the Netherlands. Hello, hello. Art Merle says, do you draw with normal graphite pen? Yeah, I normally draw with, they're actually all in front of me right now, and use the Kimberly Generals. These are my favorite type of pencils. And then when I do small detail, I use an Orenz, O-R-E-N-Z mechanical pencil, and it's a 0.2, so it's really, really small. And it gives me the, you know, the zoom in that I need for the level of detail that I'm trying to hit with a lot of my illustrations. Yeah, definitely flattening that helps. Yeah. Sometimes I'll add contrast to values too to really push forms in front of each other. Like these spikes I'll make a little darker against the lighter value of the back to make them stand out more. And anytime you change a part of the silhouette, know that it will have a direct effect on how it looks altogether. And because he has this mixture of these flowy fins underneath and the very spiky areas up top, I gotta find a way to mesh the two together, or else they'll look kind of disconnected from one another, which is not the goal. I really want it to feel like the same merman in the top and the bottom. So I think adding a few areas of the spikes on the bottom area can really help here. Because a lot of just doing art in general is just problem solving. It's like looking at your your piece and where do things not read right, where it can be improved upon. Sometimes I add so much value though, like some forms get lost. So I'll usually come back with an eraser tool and just edit areas. We don't like that at all. Tim, what are you doing here today? I think I have the pressure of knowing, okay, I still have an hour. Okay, so I have an hour to kind of correct some of these areas that are just bothering me. But I feel like that's normal when you do art, you know, that play of back and forth of wanting things to look better and getting stuck or like frustrated in areas. You know, I think part of it is the ear is too far forward. For Mini Geeks says, have you ever done any sculptures? And hello from Belgium. Well, hello, hello. You know, I started dabbling with it a lot in 2019, but I kind of dropped it. I literally just need to prioritize certain mediums. Like I would love to start doing some stained glass stuff, but I feel like I have so much pressure financially to like keep the business going, and I have people working for me, so I want to make sure that, you know, everything's getting paid. And I think once I feel more secure financially, then I'll be able to explore more. And I think the house project was like one of those huge things looming over my head. So now that that's pretty much done, once I get the money from Kickstarter, yeah, maybe later this year you'll see me exploring some other mediums, which would be kind of fun. At least I hope it will be fun. Man, this is the worst head I think I've drawn all year. Why are you looking so weird? Let me flip it. We'll come back to his head. Clearly something's not meshing there. Anthony says you should do gin for June. I think you'd have a lot of fun with that. I'm taking a break. I'm definitely taking a break from challenges for just a second, because I know I have to do my Woodland Youth drawing in June, and I have a t-shirt line coming out in June that I need to focus on with Josh. He's kind of running the project. We gotta make sure it runs smoothly. And then there's just a couple of things I need to catch up on, and then I have to do my next tarot card. So I probably won't be able to do it this year, but maybe next year I'll have a bit more time to do it, just because this year was too much. It was too much with Mermay and the Kickstarter. But honestly, I do think you guys should check into doing monthly challenges, especially if you're like feeling uninspired or not super creative in the moment, because they're like the easiest way to pull you out with like a pre-structured idea that you just kind of, you know, embellish upon. And especially with like Mermay, obviously, okay, well, it's a mermaid, so underwater, you do underwater elements, hair flowing, all that fun stuff. Oop. And same with like, I co-host Drawtober in October. I know a lot of people do like Inktober or other ones, but I like ones that are more Halloween oriented. So if you're really into spooky stuff, like doing Drawtober or something similar, there's like Drawhalloween, there's other ones too. But it's just a really fun way to pull out, like, why are you so interested in the spooky macabre world, and then just have fun with it. Where sometimes looking at a blank canvas can be just straight up intimidating, and I think it detracts or deters a lot of artists from even starting, which is obviously not creating any work. So yeah. Anyways, I'm tangenting on myself. I'm circling. For Mini Geek says, with Corona, it's a freeing time to try out different things, a time to breathe and replenish batteries. Yeah, I definitely felt that way. It wasn't until I was able to really look at it in hindsight earlier this year and kind of late last year, because when you're in the moment, obviously it's very like panic stricken. You don't know what's happening. Do I need to stock up on supplies? It was like a lot of crazy times that we had last year altogether. But now that it's slowly, things, at least here in the States, it seems like things are reopening without masks and more restaurants are opening again. We'll see how quickly things acclimate. Hopefully, maybe not to the same way they were before, because I think we should all look at 2020 as a giant learning experience, and what people learn from it is going to be different for everyone, obviously, but I feel like the things that I learned last year I'm going to take with me the rest of my life, easily. Yeah, these two, I think I just got to work them a little more. I'm not loving either of them right now very much. Like, they're fine, but I want to take them to the next level somehow. Maybe once I have the base kind of all laid out, I can go back in and start to really add in some more finer details. Because I definitely don't want to work on them more than the 2-hour range. Because like I said earlier, these are meant to be more warm-ups anyways. And like exploring different shapes. Maybe like having a really powerful shape behind this character. Something more flowery. See how that looks. Sometimes when I'm not feeling the drawing, I'll try to be more either exploratory or more bold with my shapes. Sometimes it's not just a rendering detail, sometimes it's like the whole silhouette needs to change in some way. Let's see here. For Mini Geek says, sorry we met at Fax. You got some robot prints from me, but I wish I bought a book from you, but love your podcast, Tim. Oh, well, that's awesome. Man, Fax seems so long ago. That was a fun show, though. Ella, what about 11? What about 11? Am I missing something? Oh, like giving him more fun exploratory shapes? Or what are you referencing? Matea, do you guys plan on getting vaccinated? Oh, this is something that I told Josh I wouldn't mention on stream. Like, either way, I think any thing that would be political talk, especially in America, things are just so heated. I'm just staying out of it. So I'd rather not have that discussion on here. But I am glad to see that the people, for sure, that really needed the vaccination, like my parents, my dad has a very bad lung issue. He didn't smoke or anything, but it fills up with fluid. So I was really relieved when I saw he was able to get it early. And then my mom was soon after. And now pretty much all my friends, like, it's so easy to get vaccinated if you, because for a while it was obviously only certain people, and then it just opened up to everyone, at least in Wisconsin. Ella says, if you were gonna sketch 11 and 19, if I didn't miss you drawing 11. Oh, this one's supposed to be 11 on the left here. See? So technically I'm doing like a 2 and 1 today. Oh, actually I like it better without the underdrawing lines. Maybe that's what was bothering me. Actually, maybe that was what was bothering me. There we go. Fem says, Fax has been forever ago. Better come back when you're allowed to. I mean, I would love to do more European cons. I know I've never taken Josh to one before, but it's definitely different than in America. I think America is like crazy in terms of like sales and print stuff, but I feel like from talking to other artists while I was there, because you know, I tend to talk to the neighbors around me at conventions, and they were saying how in Europe usually people don't want to buy large prints because they just don't have the space for it. Where in America they have like space to spare, especially in their places in wherever they're living. So they tend to buy bigger things, you know, bigger prints, canvas prints, wall banners, scrolls, whatever it is. But I brought over a lot of prints at the show, and I didn't do nearly as well as I did with like my books and my pins, because I kind of came to find out, yeah, it doesn't seem like large items are the way to go in European shows. So I think if I come back there, I'm going to come back more with like books, pins, and then maybe a few large prints, but mostly like smaller items, I would say. Maybe give him a little ponytail. No, too much. Too much. Oh, Ella. Yeah. Yep, 2 and 1. I could see where it could look like a giant 1 and a 9. So I kind of get where your confusion came from. It's not like it was completely unheard. You know what, let me draw a lot of bubbles here. And sometimes I use elements like this as a like a focal point of like, hey, look here type scenario. So I really like the idea of their hands almost touching being like a more glaring, obvious like look here point. Let's see here. For Mini Geek says, European artists have it more difficult than in America, I feel. The prices are lower and art really isn't the main attractor there. Yeah, I kind of could feel that from other artists, that they would rather do American shows because they can turn a larger profit, a larger net gain. And I hope that that changes a little bit, where artists can feel more comfortable just doing, you know, art cons in wherever in Europe and feel like they can have a good return and, you know, build a career and a sustainable lifestyle off of that. Because I know in America that's kind of like the dream of an artist, and it's very achievable. I mean, almost every friend I've met at a con has been able to do it independently of having a job, and that is kind of like their main job. And it's fun. You get to travel, you get to see a bunch of people throughout the year. Anthony says, I have to get going, but as always, it's great talking with you and seeing your art process. Thank you for inspiring me. I mean, absolutely. Thanks for joining in all the time. I know eventually I'll get back into doing the streams with pencil, because sometimes those are very relaxing for me. I mean, I don't get nearly as much done, I would say. I think that's why sometimes these digital ones are a little more exciting, because there's more results with it. Because pencil I can move, right? With digital I move way quicker. I mean, even with this, you know, you turn the pencil sideways, you can get a much bigger mark making area, or you just make a canvas smaller. You know, it's so much easier to fill in areas of value quickly. Yeah, these faces are like the two worst faces I've drawn all year. And of course I do it live, so it's like, ah. Oh. But they're definitely fixable, because I believe anytime you're doing art where you're not feeling an area, you know, your instinct should not be just to like wail and mope about it. It should be to fix it. Be like, okay, well, what looks bad about this? And how can I edit it so I can enjoy it more? I also feel bad because I don't know if you can hear that like crink constantly. That's from me pushing on my holder of the iPad, and it just makes this really weird crinky noise. Makes a kinky noise. No, it makes a crinky noise that I can't minimize. I will say, doing these mermen studies most mornings have taught me a lot about adding values and quickly adding like contrasting values, where normally I build them up over time, but with this I've really learned to just kind of go for it and see what happens, and it's given me really fun results on a few of them. Jonathan, hey, I was just mentioning you. Huge congratulations on the Kickstarter. Dwayne Johnson of the art world, hardest worker in the room while keeping your integrity. Looking at your Moorfolk got me thinking short story graphic novel. I mean, yeah, I definitely have a little like, you know, Romeo and Juliet story in my head with these two of like, oh, they can't be friends, or whatever the story in my head is. But I would love to do next year like an actual story throughout Mermay, where maybe I do like 3 or 4 illustrations, but they're all connecting. I think that would be fun. And thank you so much, Jonathan. It was a crazy Kickstarter, but I'm just very humbled and I feel very lucky. Julie, erase and restart the head maybe? You know, I've definitely done that in the past. It's still an option. I'm not fully against it yet. Who knows, maybe I will. Hey Jim, how are you doing? Hiya Tim, I was curious, do you still run a factory-esque Von house with a bunch of art roommates? Oh yes, my factory, oh yes. Currently I have, there's 4 of us. So me, my boyfriend Josh, my cousin Jake, who does work for me, so kind of, and then Deandra Pop, who is an artist. So the only other artist in the house that is like actively trying to make it independently with their work is Deandra. and all the other artists have been, you know, financially successful on their own. They were able to save enough money, get their own places, and it's been wonderful. So I'm glad like this house was a jump pad, like a launching pad for a lot of them. And yeah, I'm still close with a lot of them. I mean, even Sean Price I talk to at least once a week, at least. And honestly, I think now that I'm entering my 30s, I think it's, you know, me and Josh want to settle more into having a house of our own. So I think everyone kind of caught the drift and, you know, started moving out one by one to, you know, start their own lives. And I still see a lot of them though. I mean, hell, one of them, Tyler, was here last weekend because he wants to move back up to Wisconsin. It is tough to have friends from like around the country. I think it's so much easier to have everyone like grouped together. I think that was kind of my initial idea with the house, and it was so lovely. I really loved living with a bunch of artists. And yeah, there's always going to be like some complications because we only have 2 bathrooms. There's only 1 dishwasher and washing machine. So at one point when there were 7 of us, yeah, it was heavy. It was hard. We each had like a laundry day, and if you missed your laundry day, you're going to have to wait a whole another week at least. Jessica says, I'm actually really interested in seeing your boyfriend's art. Any way we can get a link to see it? He's not an artist, actually. You know, I thought for a little bit that I would want to date another artist, but then in my mid-20s, I decided, no, I think it would be better if I dated. I remember at the time I thought I was going to date like a nurse or someone in the medical profession because they're so busy that we would just have like this natural understanding of time in each other's, like we can't just be involved in each other's life constantly. And that was my thought. But I met Josh online through an app, and initially was from Mario Kart actually. So that's how we met, was Mario Kart, the description. And he was working in customer relations or customer, like the complaint department as I like to call it, at a insurance company. And it's like the total opposite of what I would be interested in doing for myself. But what was interesting, I learned so much from dating a non-artist than I ever think I would have dated an actual artist. And I think there would be this level of competition constantly between us if I dated another artist. But I've seen people make it work, so it's not like, you know, I've never seen it happen. And then some of like my favorite artists, like look at Justin Gerard and Annie Stagg. You know, they're both artists and they're both doing very well. And they're definitely artists that I look up to and I admire. And they're, to me, like they're the epitome of one of the only like power art couples, as the term we've been hearing it, you know, over the years. And I think they're the ones that really manifest that whole idea of both like very working, successful artists that are just also really good people. And yeah. And I think Josh has taught me more about like being a good person and rooting back to reality and not just looking at people based on their skill level. And because I think for a little bit, you know, it's so easy to get sucked into wanting a lot of art friends and surrounding yourself with a lot of art people. And I think that actually did really help me, especially in my early 20s. But I think going into my 30s, it's like rooting me back to like what life actually should be about. And I think I've gotten so much from him being a non-artist. So yeah, so I don't have a link, but he does play the piano really beautifully. We have some collabs on my YouTube channel if you want to listen to them. And I think he's really gifted with the piano. And with just being, he's honestly the nicest person you'll meet. He never really has anything actually bad to say about anyone. Oh, let's see here. Jim says, I got you. Are you still gonna have your art jams? Oh, you know it. Actually later this summer, because now that COVID's lifting, I'm having like a midsummer crystal ball in our backyard, and we're all getting dressed up. I'm starting to make my costume probably early June. I don't want to reveal what it is yet because I'm excited to kind of show it off as a surprise. But it is fantastical and it is very, I don't know, I think it's really funny. And yeah, a bunch of artists are going to come fly from around the country, and we're going to all probably, honestly, usually we do a lot of art. That's why they're called art jams. But I have a feeling people are just going to want to celebrate actually being together in person again, as I'm sure a lot of you, maybe with your friends, like we just want to like see each other and interact again. We're just missing like the humanness of it all right now. All right, let me flip this. He met through Mario Kart. I didn't know that. It's adorable. Yeah, on his profile. Well, okay, on his profile, and okay. As I say this though, I have to kind of give context because in gay world, Tinder is like the dating app, and then Grindr is the hookup app. But in straight world, Tinder's the hookup app. So I actually met Josh on Tinder, but in gay world, that's the equivalent of like a dating app. So we met on Tinder, and one of the things in his profile mentioned that he has never lost, or something about never losing in Mario Kart. And I remember, well, one, I thought he was really cute, obviously, but I remember reading that, I was like, okay, so he's into like dorky, nerdy things, because he also put like, I think he put a lot of Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings stuff. Or like he's interested in reading and video games, whatever. It was like things where I'm like, okay, we can definitely connect on that. And then when I saw the Mario Kart thing, I was like, okay, like let's see what you got, because I feel pretty confident in my Mario Kart skills. It's like I enter competitions when I go to cons sometimes, and I was like, let's see what he's got. So one of our first, I don't know what number date it was. It must have been like 4 or something. We actually had a Mario Kart competition, and he probably doesn't want to talk about it, but I definitely won. And yeah, it's love ever since. That's all it took. Jonathan says the piano collabs were fantastic. Well, thank you. I had a lot of fun making them. I think he gets a little nervous sometimes with them. He's not the most like socially like, what's that called, where you lean into it? It's not something that he's inclined to want to do. He's more introverted in like the truest sense of like sometimes just being around people can be nerve-wracking. Where I think over the years I've learned that even though I have some introverted tendencies, I think when it comes to like hanging out with people, I love other people's energy. If I'm in that mood, I love being around other people, and I love interacting with them. So it's definitely been weird for him dating someone who had like a social media account that is kind of, you know, very prevalent in running why they're independent and why they're able to make money independently of having a real job. So like staying social is just a part of my lifestyle at this point. And I think that took a little bit of adjusting for him. But I think now we kind of found that balance. Where if any of you are in a relationship and you're having trouble finding the balance, something that we do is every Tuesday we do Tuesdate, as we call it. It's an idea I took from my best friend who does Saturday with her boyfriend, or fiance I should say now. And basically it's every Tuesday you do something where it's just the two of you. And sometimes that can really help because it's so easy to get distracted with, you know, everything else that's going on in the world and friends and family constantly wanting to hang out and talk. But allowing yourself that, you know, break from everything else and just focus on the two of you can be very beneficial. So just something that I think you guys should try if you're kind of in that same predicament. Oh no, now he won't be able to say that anymore. It'll be, I have never lost in Mario Kart except for once. He can beat me sometimes, but for the most part, yeah. Like if we raced 10 times, he'd probably beat me twice. I'm sure he's probably upset even me saying this. He would beat me probably 8 times, or he would beat me twice and I'd beat him 8 times. He can beat me in the new Mario Kart though, the home circuit one where you create your own track. He's really good at that one. So that one I can admit I'm not as good in that one. Pick your battles wisely, as they say. I mean, actually, now I kind of feel decent about these two. I wouldn't say these are my strongest of the ones that I've done for this month, but there's elements that I kind of like. Like, I like this body shape under his navel, where it's like really black, dark edging to the fins, and then pushing into this more flowery looking area. You are destroying his reputation. There are definitely some games I can definitely admit he's better at. And definitely every horror game, he's way better at. We've been playing the new Resident Evil 8. I don't know if any of you have played that yet, but like nothing bothers him. There was this part in a basement with, I won't ruin it, but like a giant creature of some kind, I'll just say. And you have to basically run in the dark. And he was just unfazed. I mean, I didn't think it was that scary either, but I also don't see this Resident Evil as like a horror game, more so as like an action game. I could be wrong. Maybe it just isn't the same level of scare that a lot of people have with it. I don't know. Maybe that's just personal preference, but I don't think it's actually that scary. But it's fun. It's been fun to watch. It's very silly. The story doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but there's a lot of elements in it. It's gorgeous. There's this castle in the game. I mean, literally, it looks like something I would want to design and live in myself. It's so gaudy. It's so over the top with its arrangements of like filigree plastered on the wall everywhere, and it's all white and gold. It's nuts. Jonathan says, Tim, I'm just about to have a huge shift career-wise, and time for my art practice is definitely going to take a hit. Have you ever had sacrifice something dear to you for your career? You know, I think the older I get, the more I have these thoughts, because a lot of my 20s was just sitting and drawing for like hours, and I think I missed out on a lot of events, and especially with conventions. I mean, I'm traveling constantly. It's like I'm not seeing my close friends and family, but I don't have any regrets with it. But I definitely would say time. I lost a lot of time in my 20s. And is there anything I sacrificed for my career? You know, when I was in college, I didn't have internet. So I was doing schoolwork, and then I had a part-time job, and then I only drew really on the weekends. And then every now and then it would be like a party or a get-together that I'd go to. But for the most part, I'd be drawing constantly. And then, you know what? I'm not gonna tangent too much. I'll just say I've definitely had to sacrifice a lot for my career, but it's a lot of things that I was willing to sacrifice. And like I said, I listen to a lot of motivation and like how to be successful podcasts. And a lot of them talk about how, yeah, there's gonna be points in your life where you're just grinding. And it's something where I think it is romanticized to some degree in America. Like, you know, just put your, you know, pedal to the metal, or metal, yeah, pedal to the metal, you head down, work, you know, 18 hours a day, whatever the mantra is. And as much as I want to like disagree with it and be like, oh, but you know, take care of yourself and blah, 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 I think there is a lot of truth to the idea that the people that really are making it are the ones that are just sacrificing a lot of time and energy, and a lot of that goes unseen. So just know that it can be tough, Jonathan, and I feel for you because you're such a good guy, but it'll be worth it in the long run if it's something that you're really passionate about and it's something that you really want to share and put out into the world. I don't know what that shift is for you, but I'm hoping that it is one that kind of aligns with what you want to do in your line of work, whatever that might be. Whether it's writing your next book or whatever it is, I hope it, you know, aligns with what you actually want to do and not something that you feel like you have to do. But there are times like that too, where sometimes you do have to kind of grind through things that you have to do, whether for like financial reasons or whatever it might be. Hey, Luana. Jim says, I love the merman tails. The rendering makes them look so oily and scaly. Yeah, it's when you turn the pencil to the side, it creates this nice texture effect that I really like. So I tend to use that often when I'm kind of doing these mermaid tails on the warm-up drawings. Actually, I'm gonna have a bubble on his tail. I feel like it's too black. There we go. All right, what's my time at? Okay, I have like 20 minutes left. Okay, so I mean, if you guys have any more questions, I'm just gonna do some soft rendering on areas around here. I'm not gonna push it too much further. Actually, maybe his hair needs to be dark. Maybe that's what's bothering me. No. You know, sometimes you just gotta try it out, see if you will like it or not. Matea says, definitely try playing Hades. The art style is just memorizing. It's perfect for Greek mythology enthusiasts. I got into it because of the book, The Song of Achilles, and it's awesome. I actually did watch my friend Tyler play it for a little bit, and I know it's something that, what's the makers of the game? They also made Bastion, which I adore Bastion. And I do agree. I think it has a really fun art style. So yeah, I think eventually I would like to try it, like for myself, not just watch it. And I'm definitely a fan of Greek mythology. It's hard not to when you love fantasy because, I mean, look at Medusa and Cerberus and, you know, all the Hades. Like all these are so fun and interpretive that it's hard not to enjoy something about Greek mythology. Yeah, I feel like these two are pretty much done. I definitely think the faces are not my favorite, but like I said, I try not to get too wrapped up in details when you're doing like warm-up studies. I try to focus on bigger picture things, like, okay, what shape language am I going to try out today? How am I going to push this value? I think I like that better. Nelson, hi I'm from Chile and I really love your work. Well, thank you. You know, I feel like I'm not feeling my own work so much today, but sometimes that happens with art. Some days you'll be like, oh my gosh, I just stumbled upon like the greatest thing I'll ever create. And other days you're like, did I forget how to draw? Like what what happened? Who am I? Who am I anymore? Like, did I just get lucky all those years? Like on the successful pieces that I feel I've had, did I just get lucky? So if you ever are feeling things like that, trust me, every artist goes through it. And still goes through it, even after they become quote-unquote successful. Oh gosh, yeah, his face is looking horrible. And I always get so flustered when these things happen live because I'm like, oh, I promise I'm better than this. Like the scary part of live streaming is when you aren't really digging whatever you're creating and you're like, oh great. So now everyone that's watching, especially if there's like anyone new to the stream, they're like, oh, who is this guy? Like, what does he think he's actually doing here? This looks awful. I mean, I definitely think I've had worse live streams creations than these two. There was one, I know a few of you may remember, I did a beta fish study. Oh my gosh, that was probably the least favorite thing I've ever done on a live stream. And you'll never be able to find it because I took it off. That's how much I was so displeased with it. I was like, I'm not letting anyone see this horrendous experiment. I'm gonna have to just be okay with that face looking a little rough. Actually, that helped a little bit. Maybe it's also the lip being so dark. Oh yeah, that seems to help. Let's see here. For Minigeek says, at a peak creativity, trying out new things and having a blast, cutting back on social media has helped me big time. Yeah, I would say cutting back on social media is probably the #1 thing you can do. I took a huge break from Facebook about 3 years ago, and I haven't come back since because I just really enjoyed not caring about what people post on there, and I realized the people that I'm actually close to, like in life, like in person, I'm not looking at their Facebook to see what's going on in their life. I'm actually talking with them. I'm communicating like what's new with them, and we tell each other, and that's been more rewarding than going to Facebook to find out what they posted, you know. And then Twitter, I've always had an issue with because I think they try to have conversations that have a lot of nuance and subtlety to them, but I think it's with all the subtlety of like a bulldozer in a China shop type situation, or a bull in the China shop, where you just can't have those type of conversations and really have both parties, you know, be respectful and communicative in a way that is, I mean, sometimes you do, I don't want to say never, but for the most part, yeah, they're a little more hurtful than helpful, I would say. So yeah, and I think it's so easy to get sucked into like, you know, TikTok and Instagram, where you're just on it for hours, and then you realize later, oh my gosh, I could have been drawing that whole time, or I could have been painting, or whatever medium you work with, and then you feel like you've wasted so much time, because in reality you kind of have. And I think it's really easy to justify, oh well, I was doing research, or, you know, I learned something new. It's like, well, yeah, usually, but as long as it's not like a daily habit that's sucking you, you know, every day from your drawing table, and it's pulling, I shouldn't say sucking you away, you're being pulled into the abyss. It's, you know, keeping you from your drawing table, that's where it becomes more of a problem. Because like, yeah, if you're taking a break, if you're going to the bathroom, you need to just, you want to look at it really quick, like that's fine. But it's really easy to get sucked into it, and then you lose way more time than you probably initially wanted to. Okay, if you guys have any last minute questions, I'm gonna cut the stream off in about 7 minutes, I want to say here. And then I think I'm gonna be done with these two mermen. Actually, maybe I'm gonna use some of the rule of subtraction here to see if I can add more to the overall composition. So the idea of rule of subtraction is you erase things to give more value to the overall composition or shape. So I'm going to try doing some of that and see if that helps. Let's see here. Ella says, I promise we're worse than this. No, you being very harsh on yourself, Tim. No one is judging you, and we know what you're capable of. I know I'm sure we all feel that when we're working on something. If someone's like looking over your shoulder, or if you are doing it live, you're like, oh, I promise I'm better than this. Jonathan says, yep, the veil has come down. We're all disappointed. Who even are you? Jokes. Big love to Josh, and tell Kat to make room in that gym. Are you moving to America? That can't be. No, that can't be your big life change. That would be amazing, though. We would love to have you nearby. You're just a joy. I mean, I don't even know you, like, in person know you, but I when you just have a feeling about someone, you're like, you just seem like you're a joy to be around. Like, you kind of ring me as that person. So that'd be amazing if you actually moved stateside and worked at Kat's gym. Or are you just becoming a personal trainer? Is that the big career shift? That sounds more plausible than moving to America, uplifting all the roots you had with your family and friends. For Minigeek says, yeah, posting pieces up and having people steal ideas is a big bummer. I love tutorials on the net, but the other stuff sometimes feels like poison and creatively stifling you. Yes. And plus, I think sometimes it's more organic when you have the ideas just flow from your head and you're not like over-referencing, where you are kind of just like what you said, stealing someone else's work. Because I think it's really easy to get inspired, but then that inspiration kind of just becomes stealing. I've seen that happen, not so much with my stuff. I mean, a couple times I've seen people claim my work as their own or just steal my idea. But I get it. All artists do it. We all steal from each other. But I think you need to master the art of like Frankensteining it. So it's like a bunch of different inspirations. Because if you're only leaning heavily on like one or two artists, your stuff is going to look like theirs, and it might not read as like you respect them. It might read more as like, I see you're successful doing this. I'm just going to take it for myself and claim it as my own, which kind of reads as the opposite of probably what you want. Jonathan says, on the topic of sacrifice, I appreciate that answer. Sounds familiar. Have you seen the new Love, Death, and Robot season? I have not, but my roommate Deandra tells me I definitely should watch at least a few of them. I didn't care for one of the first season's shorts, and I remember I just didn't watch any of the other ones, but she told me there's actually a lot of really good ones. So I think I have to play some catch up, and I'll first watch that season, or at least the ones that she thinks are worth watching, and then I'll dive into some of the new ones. Yeah. Luna loves. Hey, Luna. Didn't get a chance to watch the stream because of a class, but I wanted to pop in and say hi. Well, hello. Jonathan says, I wish. Oh, yeah, I kind of figured you weren't, diving into America territory. I've seen it happen with a couple artists, though, so I had to ask, There we go. I kind of like that body shape better. Mattia says, do you have any advice on taking care of your physical health fitness as an artist? I feel like I've been destroying my back. I try to do stretches every day for sure. And then I eat pretty much like a whole food vegan diet. I don't, maybe it's because I'm lazy and I don't cook as much as I probably should, but I would say definitely eating better for yourself, taking care of your water intake, I think is a big thing for people. I drink a lot of tea, so try to find tea that's not just, full of caffeine. Try to find one that's more herbal or has more like things that are good for like digestion or your gut health, whatever it might be. And just kind of learning about yourself, like what do you eat that either makes you feel sick or bloated or whatever it is that clearly maybe we should stay away from those things, and then try to develop a strength to actually stay away from those things. Yeah, definitely stretching every day helps, and then doing just a little bit of exercising, whether it's just like doing a few sit-ups, pull-ups. I like to do more like limber. What are those called? Not limber. Not stretching exercises. Kind of like yoga. Like ones where your flexibility. Oh my gosh, limber. So I'm doing a lot of things where I'm stretching. I'm on the floor, like pulling, parts of my body, and that usually helps because when you're sitting in a chair all day, yeah, it can develop a lot of problems. My favorite one, I can't really show it here, but I guess I can I always thought of doing a YouTube tutorial on like really quick 5-minute stretches for everyone that sits in a chair, for like artists that hunch over on a desk. And it's basically you lay on your back and then you put one leg, I don't know if I can explain this right. You put your legs up in like a triangle formation, and then you put one of your legs over the triangle. Oh, this sounds horrible. But essentially then you pull the other leg that's still on the floor towards you, and it stretches this muscle that goes like from your lower back, through your butt essentially, and then up the side of your leg. And it's a muscle that needs to be stretched, I would say, daily, especially if you're someone that's sitting all the time. So that would be my best advice. Let's see here. Okay, I'll answer these last few messages and then we will go ahead and cut the stream off. Yeah, thank you guys for joining me. I mean, not my favorite results from a stream, but still fun to explore. And these are meant to be more just whatever comes, and that's, I guess, the idea of doing exploration sketches like these. Jonathan says, man, we'll get a call in. Just fire me on a line anytime. We'll get a call. Oh, man, we'll get a call in. I was like, what are you saying? Just fire me a line anytime. LD and Robots 1 was mostly good. Only really enjoyed a few on the second. My pal worked on one of them. Oh, that's cool. Jim says, would you ever work in New York City? I would not. I'm definitely a suburban boy. I like yards. I like nature. The concrete jungle is really cool for me to visit, but I think living there I think I would go crazy a little bit. I give a lot of respect to people that can do that. One of my friends lives in New York, actually 2 of them, and they love it there. And I think you kind of have to have an inclination to like living in cities. Otherwise, it's not going to work. For Mini Geek says, I buggered up my neck. Now work at an angle after years of working flat. Yeah, I kind of have that a little bit. So I try to do those, where you like roll your shoulders and do all that. As long as you're aware of like if you're aware of the problem, I think the next step is taking action to address the problem. So I think to me, that's the most important thing, is addressing the problem and how to work with it. And yeah, I think that's really important. Keely says, or Kylie, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. You are such an inspiration, and I'm so glad you exist. Do you have any advice for trying to create a productivity / content schedule as an artist? Yes, I used to work, and I still sometimes do, with like a Google Sheet, and I had time slots where I work at an hour at a time for different things. And you know what, maybe that will be another tutorial I'll make, because this summer I really want to dive into YouTube tutorials more. So maybe that'll be another one. It'll be like a quick one of scheduling yourself out, because the other problem is what will work for me might not necessarily work for you. And maybe you don't like having 8 different projects that you're scheduling around constantly. Like maybe you need just 1 or 2 that you're really focusing on, because backburning projects, it doesn't work for you. Like shifting gears is just not organic for you. But yes, I will definitely share like waking up, what I do in the morning, like warm-up sketches, the hour of working on emails or whatever. And then I spend, you know what, I won't even get too much into that now. I'll make a video about it. But any advice for creating one? 1, get to know yourself as an artist. And then 2, execute a plan that works with how you like to work as an artist. Kind of like what I was mentioning. And then also being aware of, are you more productive in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night? And then working that as an advantage to you. And I think the best thing that I've learned is definitely waking up early helps. And I know everyone says that, but it really does. So if you can do that, I would definitely try to incorporate that into your day-to-day. And thank you. Luna says, since you mentioned tea, what kind of flavors or techniques would you recommend for someone who doesn't really like tea? Because I want to get into it, but I can never find a tea I like. Ooh, that's tough, because I think I was so gravitated toward tea. Like I don't think I ever remember not liking flavors of tea. Besides, I'm not the biggest fan of Earl Grey and chamomile, but literally every other tea I'm into. That is tough. I actually don't have good advice, because I think I had an inclination towards it to begin with. So I guess for me, I never really had like find my taste for tea. I would say maybe try with like lighter ones though, like maybe a white tea or more fruity ones. Those tend to be a little less dirt tasting. I think the teas that I really like tend to taste like the earth. I get made fun of it a little bit, but I think you definitely have to have a liking to those type of teas. But I would say the more fruity ones, the lighter notes of like, or maybe like floral ones, maybe try like ones that are just like have light petals of, you know, mixed in with white tea. That might help you. I hope you can find one, because I think tea has been like my saving grace in making sure I have enough water content in me a day. Let's see here. 4 Mini Geeks said, you are young, but I had to go to a physical. I'm sure there's more to that message, but I got cut off. Yeah, I'm definitely very aware that, especially with like tendonitis and carpal tunnel, I have to be stretching my hand constantly, because I don't want to be 40 and I can't even draw anymore, because that would destroy me. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. So yeah, take care of yourself. Okay, I think I'm gonna cut it off. The last one is Mattia says, it has been a pleasure to hang around today. Well, thank you for joining. And yeah, like I said, not my favorite merman that I've done, but definitely good enough for these warm-up sketches. And I do have a drawing that I will put a lot more effort into at the end of this month, and it'll be doing it live. It'll be a really long stream. It'll be Saturday, May 29th, and Josh will be with me as my moderator. And I'll be doing a 400K stream where I'll be drawing 400Ks or 400 stars on a giant dress of someone wearing it. And Josh will be like counting every individual star to make sure that we get 400, no more, no less. So I'm pretty excited for that one. And yeah, I think I'm going to take the next couple days off, because Kickstarter was a lot of my time and energy. And I think I'm going to just chill for a little bit, maybe go garden for a while, and then get back to the drawing board. So thank you so much for joining me. This is kind of another one of those that I market really last minute. And I thank you for joining me for these 2 hours and having a conversation. And yeah, okay, I'll stop talking. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. Keep being productive. Hopefully you got some energy from this. So put that into your work or whatever you're doing. And hopefully we'll see you next week. Okay, take care, everyone. And thanks again for coming. And thank you again to everyone who backed my Kickstarter. Okay, where's my OBS? There it is. Okay.